Hey, well, tonight I'm angry about the last 4 years, and it's the second last show of the year. I do intend to do a show tomorrow night, but tonight is the 30th of December 2020, and I'm going to take this opportunity to look back at the last 4 years and give you some perspective on the Trump presidency, things that I'm angry about, things that I'm glad about, and how I think the last 4 years of Trump's presidency should be viewed. Let's start with one of the negative things about Donald Trump, since everybody thinks I'm such a fan of his. Let's start with what I think the biggest issue is, which is that Donald Trump shot himself in the foot. He hired people who were elements of the deep state. In spite of his expressed willingness and desire to drain the swamp, he ended up hiring swamp creatures to help him accomplish this. And I'll give you several examples. You can form your own conclusion. Let's start with John Bolton, who he hired as National Security Advisor. John Bolton dates back to the 80s. I think he first started working for George Bush. And John Bolton has never met a war he did not like or a conflict that he did not think America should be involved in. That is the essence of the deep state. Donald Trump embraced him and brought him into his cabinet, and he deserves the whirlwind that he reaped as a result. Let's keep going. Who else? Well, you've got Pompeo, our current Secretary of State, ex-CIA director. That's as deep state as you can get. And talking about CIA directors, let's move on to Gina Haspel, a deputy CIA director previously, now named as director of the CIA by Donald Trump. Gina Haspel has been involved in many dubious activities. She is as deep state as they get. Let's keep going. What about Elaine Chao, Secretary of Transportation, and the wife of Mitch McConnell, who may be an ally, may be a foe of Donald Trump? It's hard to tell. Certainly he seems to be, at best, a disinterested third party and not a Trump supporter. Let's keep going. How about Betsy DeVos, who was the GOP chairman, or chairwoman, I should say, of Michigan? She is now the Secretary of Education. And you can also look at Sonny Perdue of Perdue Farms, who's now the Secretary of Agriculture. I'm not saying he's deep state, but it certainly doesn't look good that somebody so connected with agriculture and industry should be the Secretary of Agriculture. So I think that's one of the biggest problems that Donald Trump has had. He has attempted to enlist swamp creatures in his effort to drain the swamp, not something that is ever going to be have a high chance of working out. Let's talk about something positive about Donald Trump. Donald Trump speaks from the heart. I think that one of his biggest problems is that he is too nice. This may seem incredible to those who hate him, but I think that his unwillingness to be seen as an autocratic dictator has hurt him. He was unwilling to deploy the National Guard. He's been unwilling to deploy force against protesters. His good nature, his desire to be liked and or loved has been his Achilles heel and has stopped him from taking actions that would have resulted in a more favorable outcome for his presidential actions. Let's move on to something negative. One of the big things I have against him is that he, to this date, this is the 30th of December, he has not pardoned Julian Assange or Edward Snowden, two American citizens who did great service to the citizenry of this country by revealing illegal acts that our government was committing against us. Donald Trump should have pardoned them a long time ago. The fact that he has not is a big black mark against him. Let's move on to something positive about Donald Trump. If anybody could be said to have suffered the slings and arrows of outrageous fortune, it is Donald Trump. He's been accused of being a racist, a misogynist, pretty much every epithet that you can imagine. He has been called, and half the country believes it in their heart that he is an evil man, that it is just to resist him, just as it would be just to resist Hitler. This has come very close to treason or sedition or whatever you want to call open a revolt against the sitting president. And as a matter of fact, the people against Donald Trump had no hesitation in calling themselves the resistance, and also no hesitation in saying, not my president. This president, Donald Trump, has had to endure vilification at the hands of half the population for his entire presidency. And if it wasn't for the fact that he had a direct line to the people themselves via social media, specifically Twitter, he would have been even less effective than he has been. One wonders if the next president will even have this line to the people open to them. Twitter, in the latter half of Donald Trump's presidency, started adding notes to Donald Trump's tweets, questioning the veracity of Donald Trump's statements, and you wonder if the next presidential candidate will even be able to get his tweets read at all. Donald Trump has rubbed many people the wrong way. He has a very acerbic, aggressive style. He is a skilled negotiator. He starts out with an outrageous demand, and then when he ratchets it back to something more reasonable, he is seen as being compromising and conciliatory, whereas that was his original goal to begin with. People don't know how to deal with someone who is not a skilled politician. That means a skilled liar. That means a skilled compromiser. Let's deal with one more issue that I have with Donald Trump, and this is something that just came up in the last day or so. He just recently pardoned 4 Blackwater mercenaries. Now, you may not remember the story, but these 4 guys were involved in the massacre of, I think, 17 or 19 innocent Iraqi civilians in a town square in Iraq. These are not soldiers. These are third-party contractors. These are literally mercenaries. And I don't know for a fact that what took place was a war crime, but I just know that if tens of people are killed, innocent civilians are killed, then there is some fire in that smoke. I think Donald Trump has a soft spot for the military. I think he made a bad mistake. As a matter of fact, the UN has just condemned him. I know probably most of my audience thinks that the UN is certainly not an organization to be respected, but the fact is that these are mercenaries, not soldiers. Innocent civilians were killed, and I don't think that this kind of activity should be pardoned. So, in retrospect, looking back at Donald Trump's 4 years, he began with such hope for his supporters. We believed that the swamp would be drained. I don't know anybody who actually understands how the swamp works, who thinks it should not be drained, but Donald Trump did not take the actions that were required to achieve the goals that seemed important to him. He didn't drain the swamp. He didn't succeed in extricating us from all these foreign wars. And he did not succeed in getting a cabinet or group of people beneath him who supported his goals and ambitions. And because of this, his presidency never achieved the success that it could have. There was a huge popular groundswell for Donald Trump. The establishment was totally against him, as they are against any change. But Donald Trump's supporters really have been sadly disappointed, even though the man himself is personable, has tremendous energy, and I believe tried his utmost to achieve his goals. In spite of these efforts, the fact that he made several bad decisions and continues to make bad decisions means that the last 4 years is not the unalloyed triumph that it could have been. I am sad to see Donald Trump go. I think he had potential. I think that in spite of his bluster, he did attempt to represent us, ordinary Americans. And I'm angry that the opportunity, the hope that represented his presidency appears to have ended. As we approach the end of the year, I hope you all wake up.